morning, good morning. Today is Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. Coach Rich, poof, in the house. Man, today I got a good one for you. We're going all lower body today. We're gonna be warming up with some single leg glute bridges and then into some multi-planar lunge work. After that, we're doing 3 7-minute, 3 exercise sequences. So these are called giant sets. So we're doing 3 exercises back to back to back. And you're gonna be doing that for 7 minutes consecutively, working as hard as you can for each 7-minute block. So it's gonna be 7 minutes of straight going at it. You're gonna take a 1.5 minute rest, your second 7 minutes, 1.5 minute rest, and your third 7 minutes. All 3 7-minute blocks are gonna be 3 different exercises. And then we're gonna be finishing with some finishing work specific to our core, and then also some stability work for our hips, as well as some hamstring work, and then some explosive squat jumps to kind of build up our cardiac output and our heart rate. Good morning there, Miss Meg. We are warming things up here. So without further ado, let's just chop the feet here a little bit, y'all. Little choppy feet, little choppy feet. I'm just gonna rub my hands together because it's cold in here, but not for long. And then I call this a cha-cha, so I'm gonna move forward a couple steps, back a couple steps. If you don't have a lot of space to work with, 1 step forward, 1 step back is fine. We're just kind of getting some acceleration, some deceleration happening here. Just working nice and quick. 3, 2, 1. Then let's take the feet out. Let's take them back in, out and ins. Out and ins, out and ins, out and ins. Just warming up real quick, nothing crazy. And then staying light on the balls of the feet, some hip turns. Some hip turns. And we're gonna go through this warm up one more time. So choppy feet. Think about raising your knee height a little bit into our cha-chas, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. Let's start to get our heart rate up a little bit. Let's start to get our core body temperature raising a little bit. Let's take our feet out and in. 3, 2, 1, and then some hip turns. 3, 2, 1. All right, we're gonna come down to the ground, half kneeling position. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my left knee onto the ground, my right leg is out in front, my opposite hand's gonna come down so that it's in line with my forward leg. I'm gonna push out, I'm gonna open up through my groin, through my hamstring here. I'm gonna make sure my big toe is on the ground. Push, forearm down to the ground, open one time, and then I'm gonna use the same arm. I'm gonna position it directly inside the leg. I'm gonna turn away. Yeah, and I'm gonna use my arm to drive my leg further out as I twist. Then I'm gonna have both hands onto the ground. And from here, what I wanna do is try to drive my butt backwards. Try to straighten out this front hamstring here. Once I get to my end position, I'm gonna move my butt left and right and just kind of rock it side to side. And then we're gonna do the same flow on the other side. So I'm gonna take my left foot and I'm gonna bring it all the way up and out in front. What I wanna think about doing is squeezing my backside glute, pulling my belt buckle into the ground. What I wanna feel here is a little stretch in my hip flexor, and then I'm gonna start working into my left groin. So I'm gonna push away, big toe stays on the ground, elbow down, forearm to the floor, turning one time towards that front leg, position the arm directly inside, use that arm to drive the leg out, turn away from the front leg, both hands down, rock back. Once you get to the end range, hip drive it side to side. 3, 2, 1. From here, we're gonna do a pigeon or a 90-90. So if you're gonna do a pigeon, you're gonna set up in the top of a high plank. You're gonna throw your leg up and underneath your body. And what you were trying to get here is kind of squaring off this front leg. So it's like this, like a 90-degree, an L shape. And then what I wanna do is try to push my butt backwards behind my body so that I feel a good stretch here in my backside glute. And then I'm just gonna reach out and in front. I don't want to do this and go down, that's no good. I want to go out, forward in front of my body. And then from here, all we're going to do is get back to the top. We're going to switch sides, reaching away, sitting our hip back. So pushing our hip back as we lead forward in front. with our chest. All right, and then we're gonna get into our classic cat-cow shape. I like to start every workout making sure that you've done a nice job just moving through some basic motions of your spine. Always really, really important. No matter what you're doing, even if it's just a gentle walk, you know, taking your body through some flexion, some extension, just never a bad idea. All right, and then our last one here, guys, I call this an adductor dip. So adductor dip, I'm gonna step out about 90 degrees. I'm gonna slide my hips to one side. What I wanna feel here is a stretch through my groin. I'm gonna come down, bring my knees so that they're symmetrical, and then step out 90 degrees to the opposite side. Keep a little bit of tension through your abs, so abs kind of tight, working from side to side. All right, guys, so in this warm-up, it's only gonna be 2 rounds. There's 4 exercises. We're gonna do each exercise for 30 seconds. So the first exercise is gonna be a single leg glute bridge from the ground. Now we've done these single leg glute bridges many times. Today what we're gonna be focusing on is a 2-second pause at the top, and then slowly you're gonna lower down. We call that the eccentric phase of the portion of the lift. So I'm gonna go 2-second pause at the top, 3 seconds on the way down, 3, 2, 1, 30 seconds on the right leg, 30 seconds on the left leg. Then we're gonna get up to our feet. We're gonna focus on some more motion type things. So we're gonna be doing a multi-directional pivot lunge, and we're gonna be stepping directly lateral to my right. And then I'm gonna take my right leg and I'm gonna cross back and behind in one smooth move, kind of like into like a bowler squat, up, and then into my lateral lunge. So it's one motion from one position to the other position. Start with a smaller range of motion, and then as you feel comfortable, you can increase your range of motion, increase your speed. So we'll do that on one side, we'll do that on the other side, and then we'll repeat that entire thing one more time. Alrighty, so we're gonna start onto the ground with our single leg glute bridges. Grab our timer here. Alrighty, so we're gonna start in 10 seconds. I'm onto the ground. I'm gonna pull my right heel in towards my butt. I can grab my shin or arms at 45 degrees. I'm gonna drive through my heel. I'm gonna pause, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, and then on the way down, 3, 2, 1, bang, right back up, pause. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, down slow. 3, 2, 1, bang. Notice my front toes are off the floor. I'm driving through my heel. I'm being aggressive with my contraction through my glute. 3 seconds coming down, 2-second pause, and then right back up. Short little rest, stay where you are. We're just gonna switch legs. I'm gonna bring this leg in, toe off the ground, same idea. 1, here we go. 2 seconds, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, down slow. 3, 2, 1. Right when you get down to the ground, bang, right back up quick for a pause. 1, 2, down slow, 3, 2, 1. Focus on your glutes. Focus on keeping a little bit of tension through your core. Slow, controlled action on the way down. Aggressive and quick on the way up. All right, so now we're gonna get up to our feet and we're gonna do our first multi-plane lunge. So with this lunge, the first one I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep my left foot stationary. So with my right leg, I'm gonna step directly out to my right lateral lunge, stack my hip, my knee, and my foot, and then back and behind. Here we go. If this is just feeling way too easy, feel free to grab a little weight, but the reason we're doing this right now is just to get our body moving in a couple different planes of motion. All right, so we're trying to integrate some motion into our activation work. So that bridging action, that's like an activation exercise. And this is kind of like a movement prep mobility exercise. So it doesn't necessarily need to be loaded up super heavy, just enough to get some good movement in it. Now we're going to our left. Ready? We're stepping out to our left, crossing back and behind. Start with a smaller range of motion, and then progressively make it bigger. So notice when I step out, stacked foot, knee, hip, and then I'm crossing behind. I'm not pausing in the middle. I'm just trying to work nice and fluidly from one position into the next, slowly bringing my heart rate up. All right, now we're gonna come back down to the ground. We're gonna do that whole thing one more time. So we're gonna start with our bridge. I'm gonna bring my heel in towards my butt. All right, so my heel is towards my butt. My toe is off the ground. I can grab my shin or fists into the ground. Here we go. 2-second pause to the top. 3, 2, 1 on the way down. Right back up. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, down slow. 3, 2, 1. Bang, right back up. Maintaining a little bit of tension through your core. So think about that core staying tight the whole time. Focusing on the glute. We want to turn that glute on. Today's a lower body focus day, so we need to have our glutes doing some work. If our glutes are not engaged, and they're not helping us with these movements today, a lot of times you're going to take them up in the knees. All right, and the knees, they're just not as powerful and not as, they're not the best joint to take up the slack, to put it for the lack of a better term, okay? So your glutes are big, powerful, juicy muscles. Your knees, they're just not designed to take that kind of impact. So if we can get our hips and our glutes firing and working for us the right way, we're gonna take a lot of stress off some of the weaker points of our body, specifically our knees and our low back. If you have well-functioning hips and core, it's very rare that I find that you have a ton of lower back problems as well. If your pelvis is not functioning correctly, then it's a lot of times that stress is going to dissipate to other spots. Here we go. Lateral step right, crossing back and behind. That's one reason we start every single workout that you do with me that has to do with things to stimulate your core, stimulate your hips, and then get your body moving. That stuff is really, really important in terms of being able to function in a high way. Why do we want to function in a high way? Well, the better we function, the less chance we have of hurting something, of tweaking something. All right, so that's why we do these things. Not trying to waste our time. I'm trying to prep us, all right, for some work that is to come. All right, as you can see, coach's heart rate's up. I'm breathing heavy. Might need a sip of water after this. So coming up next is gonna be our first 7-minute block. In our 7-minute block, we're gonna be doing 3 exercises. We're gonna be doing a sumo deadlift, we're gonna be doing a reverse lunge, and then a little bicycle crunch. All right, so first one is a sumo deadlift. We're gonna focus on just smooth, controlled reps. I'm using a kettlebell. If you want, you can use a dumbbell as well, either or. Your positioning is gonna be like this. I'm gonna stack my body so I'm directly over the top of the weight. My stance is very wide, my toes are out. I'm gonna keep my torso a little bit more vertical. From here, I'm gonna take a big breath in. I'm gonna brace my core. I'm gonna drive my knees out. When I grab the handle, I'm gonna think bend that handle in half. So I'm gonna go, bend the handle in half, drive up, little booty squeeze. On the way down, I'm gonna push my hips back, and then I'm gonna come down from here, stay as vertical as I can, drive up, push my hips back, drive up. So, 2 common things on the deadlift. When you push up to the top, imagine like you're in the gym and you're like using an old school leg press machine. So you're like pushing that thing away. When we go down, the first thing we want to do is try to push our butt back and load into our hamstrings. So it's just like a little bit different in terms of going up versus going down. So you don't think on the way up, leg press, push away. On the way down, push your hips back, go slow, find the hamstrings. All right, exercise 2. You can do this next one with or without the weight. I'm gonna do it with the weight. I'm gonna hold the bell up nice and high. And then from here, I'm gonna drive my knee through and then down. If you're having trouble with this balance, what you're gonna do is just step up and then step back. All right, if you want that added challenge with the balance, you're gonna drive that knee all the way up and through. Lastly, we're gonna come down to the ground. We're gonna go old school, and we're gonna hit some bicycle crunches. You guys know these. Keep the shoulder blades up off the ground, core stays nice and tight. The elbow's gonna go to the opposite knee. Reps, everything is gonna be multiples of 10. We got 10 sumo deadlifts. We're gonna go 10 aside with a reverse lunge. On the right, 10 aside, reverse lunge left, and then 10 per side bicycle crunch. Alrighty, 7 minutes on the clock. And then I'll break down what we're gonna be doing next after we finish this first 7-minute piece. All right, so everything multiples of 10, 10 deadlifts, 10 reverse lunges per leg, 10 bicycle crunches per side. Once you finish your bicycle crunch, you go right back to the sumo deadlift. All right, 7 minutes straight of work. Let's get to it. My pace is gonna be, I call this coach's demo pace. So it's like a medium slow pace. So if you wanna go with me, you can. But once you kind of get these movements down, I would love for you to attack this thing and go a little harder, go a little faster. I wanna come down slow on these sumos, drive up fast. Come down slow, drive up fast. Notice how much knee bend I'm getting. All right, so I'm really bending at my knees. I'm really trying to use my legs and my thighs. I'm pushing out. I want to imagine there's a crack in the ground and I'm driving my legs outwards as I lower down. Then as I go up, I'm pushing my feet through the ground and squeezing my legs. All right, that was 10. I'm gonna take a second. I'm gonna re-rack the bell nice and high. So I'm gonna come in like this. Elbows are gonna come down. I'm gonna step back. I'm gonna drive up and finish with my knee nice and through. We're doing 10 per side here. So 10 sumo deadlifts, 10 reverse lunges on each leg. Oh. And then 10 bicycle crunches per side. I'm gonna rotate this way a little bit. Same idea. When you do this reverse lunge, you wanna keep your weight on this front leg here. Notice my spine angle, slight forward lean. All right, when I have that little bit of lean, it creates more of like a hybrid movement, meaning I'm gonna actively use my hips, my hamstrings, and my quads rather evenly. So you don't want to be too vertical on this one. Little forward lean. As you stand up, you want to think about driving your front heel through the ground as you stand up hard and fast. So I'm going to power through that heel, bang, finish the knee, then come back down nice and smooth. After we get 10, we're going to set it down and we're going to get into our bicycle crunch. So bicycle crunch, get the shoulder blades off the ground. Do not crank on your neck. Use your hands to support your head and your neck, but not to pull on it. From here, I'm going elbow to opposite knee, and then I'm gonna rotate and switch sides. Do 10 per side. Reach the legs long. All right, so I like adding a little bit of core into our leg work because it brings more awareness to what's happening with our core. So with those, I'm not trying to totally trash your core. All I'm trying to do is just stimulate it enough so that when we go into an exercise like the sumo deadlift, you can start to feel your abs a little bit. All right, so we're gonna set up, again, similarly. If I set up over the top of my bell, I'm gonna line up the knots in my shoelace with the handle of my kettlebell. From here, I'm gonna take that big breath into my belly. I'm gonna flex as if someone's trying to knock the wind out of me. So I'm gonna keep my core super tight. Fill in, squeeze. Then from here, keep my chest nice and vertical. Drive up fast, come down nice and slow. Remember, we're doing 10 of these, 10 reverse lunges per leg, 10 bicycle crunches per side. Ah. What I want you to feel here is a little bit of a stretch in your adductors, in your groin as you're coming down. So you want to feel a stretch through your groin because you're pushing your feet out so hard to the outsides. So you're actively pushing out, you're keeping your chest up tall, and your abs are staying super tight. Powerful on the way up. Control coming down. All right, shake it out for a second. Working those reverse lunges here next. So this next one, I'm gonna demo these without the weight. All right, so similar idea, just so you can see a little bit better about what I'm doing. My angles of my spine, driving my front heel through the ground. My forward knee is directly over my midfoot here. So I'm finishing nice and tall, knees coming up, and then I'm nice and loaded over this front leg. So notice when I step back, I'm not crashing back to my back foot. I'm trying to make my front leg be the working leg here. So I'm loading into my front side, driving through nice and tall. And then once we get 10, we just switch sides. So similar idea, I'm gonna distribute my weight over the front leg. I'm gonna lean forward a little bit. I'm gonna load into that back hip. And then explosively, I'm gonna stand all the way up nice and tall. When I come down, I'm gonna come down with control. Anytime I don't give you specifics in terms of the tempo of the movement, it's always controlled coming down, explosive coming up. Controlled coming down, explosive coming up. And then if it's a pulling exercise like a row or a pull-up or something like that, it would just be the opposite. So you're gonna pull yourself as you come up and control yourself as you lower away. All right, so let's hit that crunch. 10 aside. Shoulder blades off the ground. Everything is for multiples of 10. Ha! All right, so if you got a few more in you, keep it going. 10 sumo deads, 10 reverse lunges per leg, and then 10 per side bicycle crunch. Woo! I'm gonna catch my breath real quick, and we're gonna move on. All right, if you're middle of the set, keep it going. So, main piece number 2. We have a 1.5-minute break here. So we have just a short bit of time for me to tell you what's going on. Again, we're going multiples of 10. First exercise, 2-hand kettlebell swing. Open up the stance, hinge the hips back, find the hams, hike the bell back like a football, snap through. You guys know your swings. We're doing 10 swings. After that, we're coming down to the ground. This is called a frog pump. So frog pump is like a bridge, but we're gonna have the bottoms of our feet together like this. They're gonna push into each other. We're gonna bridge your hips up and squeeze our glutes at the top. So actively pushing your feet into each other, good glute squeeze at the top. The frog pump we're gonna do for 20. So 10 swings, 20 of the frog pump, and then lastly, we're gonna do a tuck. So I'm gonna have my hands kind of just behind my butt. I'm gonna lean back until my forearms are flush on the ground. I'm gonna tuck my knees into my chest. I'm gonna squeeze my abs and then flatten back out. And we're gonna do 10 of these. 10 swings, 20 frog pumps, 10 tucks. All right? So we're on the clock. In 5 seconds here, we're gonna go 2-hand swing for 10. You ready? Let's go. After 10 swings, we're gonna set it down and we're gonna go into our frog pump. So I have my heels in close to my butt. From here, I'm gonna actively push my feet into each other. I'm gonna squeeze my butt at the top, come right back down. 20 frog pumps. These a little bit faster, kind of rapid fire action, making sure you get a good squeeze at the top of every rep. Focus on how hard you can squeeze your glutes every single time you come up. Actively pushing your feet into each other. And then for our last one, we're gonna go into the tuck. So I'm gonna have my hands kind of in line with my butt. I'm gonna extend my legs out. I'm gonna lean back until my arms are flush with the ground. I'm gonna tuck my knees into my chest. 10 of these. All right, so we did one full round. Let's go after it again. That took us about 2 minutes and, sorry, a minute and 40 seconds. So we have another 5 minutes or so of work. So let's see how much stuff we can get done. 10 swings, 20 frog pumps, 10 knee tucks. So I'm coming back to my swing. Every time I set up on my swing, I set up the same, no matter what weight of bell. So even if it's a light bell, treat it as if it's a heavy one. So I'm gonna create a triangle between my feet and the bell. I'm gonna hinge my hips back. I'm gonna make sure my core is nice and tight. I'm gonna tip the bell towards me and I'm gonna hike it back. I'm gonna focus on driving my heels through the ground, squeezing my glutes at the top, snapping through my quads, hard exhaling as that bell starts moving away from my body. All right, and then we're coming down to the ground for a little frog pump. Bottoms of our feet are pushing into each other. We're gonna squeeze our glutes at the top, coming back down. When you lower to the ground, you don't want a massive arch in your low back. So you should feel your lower back kind of press into the ground. And that's a good indication that you're keeping a relatively neutral spine, which is really important. So if you're not feeling your low back touch the ground, reset for a second, flatten your back into the floor, tighten up your stomach, and then go back up. A lot of times when folks do bridges and they say, oh, I'm not feeling my glutes, I'm just feeling my back, a lot of times it's because their positioning is off. So they're a little bit too extended. Their low back is arching way off the ground, and then when they come up, they're excessively arching through their low back and not fully extending up at their hip. So it's an important part to get right. Going into my tuck here next. Leaning back, reaching my legs out in front of me, leaning back with my upper torso. When I come in, I'm gonna squeeze my abs hard. Flatten out, squeezing hard. And again, I'm not trying to crush your core yet. I just want you to feel it. I just want you to feel it so that when we get to our kettlebell swing, you're aware of what's happening with your core. So when I say, all right, you're gonna set up in your triangle position, you're gonna find your core. By doing some ab exercises prior to it, it's gonna make it a little bit easier to identify, hey, I can feel my abs in this position, they're nice and tight, or they're not. So, set up with my triangle, I'm gonna hinge my weight back, I'm gonna take a big breath into my belly, I'm gonna squeeze my abs. From here, I'm gonna tip my bell, my weight's back under my heels a little bit, my core is staying tight, I'm gonna hike it through. At the top of the swing, this should look very similar to a standing plank. My legs are locked out, my glutes are tight, my abs are tight, and I'm standing up nice and tall, as if there's a string on the top of my head pulling myself up to the ceiling, meaning I'm standing up nice and tall. I'm not arching back. I'm not leaning forward. I'm straight up. Alrighty, y'all. Looking good. Coming back down to the ground. Flatten our low back into the floor. Push the feet into each other. Squeezing the glutes at the top of the rep. Every time you come to the top, you're thinking about how strong of a glute contraction you can create. Every single rep. Again, if you're not noticing your low back touch the ground, take a second. Reset your positioning, flatten your lower back into the floor, find your abs, and then go up again. Woo! Coach's glutes are feeling it for sure. Woo! All right, and then into our tucks. This is gonna be my last one. Ha. All right, we got 20 seconds. You guys are gonna finish that up, and I'll show you what we're doing next. Coach is gonna have a quick sip here. Finish what you got. All right, so coming up, our final 3 exercise piece for our 7-minute time block. It's gonna be a Romanian deadlift. It's gonna be a forward lunge and then an alternating toe reach. So with our Romanian deadlift, it's gonna be a very slight knee bend. When you lower the weight, you wanna think of lowering the weight right over your toenails. So it's not super close to your body, but it's not way out in front either. It's kind of right over your toes. All right, so my setup position is gonna be from the top. My feet are rather narrow, so my feet are about hip width apart. I'm gonna slightly bend my knees. From here, I'm gonna keep my core nice and tight, and I'm gonna imagine there's a wall behind my butt. I'm gonna shove my butt back for that wall. Notice, I'm not trying to round from my back. I'm trying to keep my spine nice and flat. What you wanna feel is a big pull on those hamstrings. So my core is staying tight. When I grab the handle here, I'm gonna bend it in half. I'm gonna fold forward. Find the hamstrings. Exercise 2, it's just gonna be a classic forward lunge. So you're gonna step forward, push back. You can do this one with or without a weight. You're gonna be alternating legs. And then our last one, you're gonna be down here. I'm gonna sit up and touch my opposite toe. So 10 Romanian deadlifts, 10 forward lunges per leg, 10 of these alternating toe touches. Here we go. Romanian deadlifts. We're on the clock. Stance is narrow. We're gonna hinge back. The weight's coming right over the toenails, and then back up to the top. Core stays tight. Find the hamstrings. Finish with the glutes. Take your time on the way down. Slow. And then smoothly pull it back to the top. Core stays tight the whole time. Anytime I'm doing these with a relatively heavy weight, I'm gonna take my breath at the top, I'm gonna squeeze my core, and then I'm literally gonna hold my breath for the entire rep. So I'm gonna brace, hold my breath, and then I won't take a new breath until I'm back standing nice and tall. Now, if you're working with a lighter weight, a lot of times you can get away with some shallow breathing. Just make sure to maintain tension through your core. All right, so after you get your 10 Romanian deadlifts, you're gonna be going into your forward lunge, alternating legs. You can do these with or without a weight. What I want you to focus on is explosively pushing back. So come down with control, boom, push back. When we're doing this exercise, we're gonna be focusing a little bit more on our quads here. So control it coming down, explosively push back. Working this one with body weight or with the weight, your call. Find the right amount of resistance that's going to challenge you appropriately. So maybe the first time through you go on body weight only. Maybe the second time through, you add a little bit of weight. All right, your call. Now, for our last one here, we're coming down to the ground. Now we're gonna light the core up a little bit more. This is our last thing. Ha, ha, ha. If you can't get up and touch your toe, see if you can touch your sock. Just make sure that your shoulder blades are coming off the ground between every single rep. Ha, 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 ha. Ah! Those always start so easy, and they sneak up on me. Oh man! Oh! All right. So now more than ever, you should be really feeling your core. So when we do these Romanian deadlifts, think about taking that big breath in, thinking about keeping your core really, really tight. And then lastly, think about shifting your weight backwards into your heels so that you feel your hamstrings when you flex forward, not your lower back. All right, so setup is at the top of the rep. My stance is narrow. I'm gonna bend the handle. My core is tight. I'm gonna push my hips back. We're doing 10 of these. So it's 10 Romanian deadlifts. Notice my butt is going back behind, back. So I'm trying to do that to create a big stretch on my hamstrings. And when I do that the right way, that means my hamstrings are helping me with this lift, not relying on my low back. Core stays tight, push my hips back, and coming back up. When I lower this weight, the weight's coming kind of right in line over the top of my toenails. That's gonna help me make better use of my hammies. Woo! All right, good stuff. Woo, good stuff. Forward lunge here. Alternating side. When you step forward, you control it coming down and then forcefully push yourself back home. If the first time you did this exercise, it was rather easy, go ahead and grab a weight. You can hold the weights at your sides or you can bring them up into the goblet. All right, your call. But that extra weight is gonna make this exercise a little bit more interesting. Woo! All right, all right. Coming back to the ground. So we got 10 Romanian deadlifts. We got 10 per side forward lunge. And then we have these alternating toe touches for 10 this side as well. So this time, I'm going just to my sock. Ha! Even though I went to my sock only that time, oh, that still got me. So as long as you're making sure that your shoulder blades are touching the floor and then you're getting your shoulder blades up off the ground between every single rep, I promise you, you're doing something good. All right, I got plenty of time, so I'm gonna do one more set of these Romanian deadlifts. My stance is narrow. When I grab the handle, I wanna bend it in half. And when I do that, I'm gonna engage my lats. Once I engage my lats, I'm gonna bring a little bit more stiffness to my upper body. With my upper body being a little bit more stiff, it's gonna prevent myself from cheating by reaching with my back and only getting that with the range of motion for my legs. So I'm hinging, I'm finding my hamstrings, coming back to the top. If you're not feeling your hamstrings on this exercise, and you're just feeling your low back, what I would prefer you do is set the weight down and just practice doing this motion until you feel your hamstrings every single time you bend forward. That way you'll know you're doing it right and you're in a much less chance of hurting yourself, which is important. Alrighty, so we're gonna move on to this little finish here. This little finish is gonna involve 3 different exercises. The 3 exercises are gonna be what's called a bare fire hydrant, a hamstring walkout, and then a little jump squat. So if you've never done a fire hydrant before, this is kind of like a corrective exercise that we'll use to kind of help turn the hips on. So you'll be in this kind of tabletop quadruped position. Abs are tight, and then you're gonna kind of fan your hip open, pause, and then come down. Fan your hip open, pause, come down. Now today, the advanced version, we're gonna do the same move, but you're gonna elevate your knees off the ground. So your knees are gonna be off the ground, open up one side, open up the other side. Quite a bit harder. If you're struggling, just come back down, knees resting on the ground, and just work it with the knee touching, all right? Exercise number 2, hamstring walkout. Begin with your heels close to your butt. You're gonna bridge, and then slowly you're gonna walk your heels out in front of you, and then walk them back in. What you wanna feel here again is your hamstrings. So make sure your core is staying tight. You're not arching through your back. All right, you're going up about as far out as you can. Once you get there, work them back in. Last one, a squat jump. You know these. Put yourself in a good squat posture. Pull yourself into it. Give me a little hop coming out. I don't need a massive jump. As long as we can slip a sheet of paper underneath your feet, we got it, all right? 3 rounds, 30 seconds per exercise. We're gonna start with that fire hydrant move. We're on the clock in 10 seconds. Whew! The first time through, I'm gonna do the exercise with my knees on the ground. So my back is flat. I'm gonna try to open my hip up 90 degrees, return. Open my hip up 90 degrees, return. If this is too easy for you, get your knees off the ground. Keep your core nice and flat and tight. I'm only trying to open using my hip here. I don't want anything else moving. You're gonna pause when you get to the top of the rep. Control it back down to the bottom. Pause, back down to the bottom. You're quickly gonna flip over onto your back. You're gonna get your heels in close to your butt. Flatten your lower back into the ground. Get your core tight, bridge up. From here, fist into the ground. Get your toes off the floor. You're gonna walk your heels out slowly. Inch them out, inch, inch, inch. Once you find your end range, inch them back in, inch, 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 and then right back out. Remember in this exercise, I want you to try to feel your hamstrings. So walk it out, find those hammies. Ha! Walk it back in. Core stays tight. Whoo! All right, now we're back up on our feet. We got that squat jump coming up. Doesn't need to be a massive jump, just enough. If you don't want to jump, at least get up onto your tippy toes. Ready? So, up onto the tippy toes if you don't want to jump. If you are jumping, just give me a little hop. Doesn't need to be anything crazy, but by forcing yourself just to get even a millimeter off the ground, you have to put that extra bit of force in to go vertical. Core stays nice and tight on these. And we're just starting with a traditional stance, maybe feet just outside hip width. All right, 1 round down. We're gonna do that again. If you felt good about that first set, think about raising up that intensity a little bit. So when you hit that bear position, try to go knees elevated for this next one when we do those fire hydrants. So I'm down, I'm gonna get my knees off the ground. Put a little bit more demands on my core. I'm gonna open my hip to one side, control it back down. Open my hip to the other side, control it back down. Quite a bit harder here.
As you're opening, focus on the knee that's near the floor, that's not touching the ground, just making sure it's relatively staying in one spot. Good work. Hamstring walkouts. If you have a stability ball, you could do a hamstring curl on this one today as well. Throwing that out there. Bridging up, toes off the ground. Here we go. Walk it out. Find those hammies. Walk it back in. Core stays tight. Walk it out. Stretch yourself. Walk it back in. Core stays tight. Find the hamstrings. Where are they gonna kick on? Woo! Had to get way out there, baby. Hold. High level wrestlers do this exercise where they lay on their backs and they'll do a plank off their head and their heels. It's crazy. Made me think of that. Squat jump. If you want to on this set, try your stance a little bit more narrow. You're gonna emphasize a little bit more quad work. If you don't like the jump, don't do the jump. Just go into your squat and then come up on your tippy toes and then back down. A little bit of tension through your core. And then once you got that movement down, you start speeding up, you start getting after it. Ha, ha, woo. All right, 2 rounds down, we're gonna do one more. We're gonna do one more, coach, just a quick little step. Alrighty, y'all. Alrighty. Woo. So, bear position, hitting the fire hydrant. I liked how that felt with my knees off the ground. I'm gonna do that again. So knees are off the ground. I'm trying to get super stable here. Open, pause, coming down. I don't want you worrying about how many reps you can get. I want you focusing on technique on this exercise. Trying to move one body segment while you stabilize everything else. Whew, not easy. Woo. Flip it over. Hamstring walkouts. Heels begin in towards the butt, toes off the ground. Bridge up, fist into the floor. Work it out. Find a tough, challenging point. Bring it back in. Walk it out. Ha, ha, ha. Oh. All right, squat jumps. Squat jumps. Last set here. On this last one, you're either gonna prioritize a wide stance or go back to a regular width stance. I'm gonna go a little wider. Here we go. Oh! I had to get after it for that last one. Woo! All right, we did a bunch of hamstring work today. So we're gonna start with a little hamstring stretch. This is called a leg lower. What you're gonna do is you're gonna begin with both legs up. From here, I'm gonna grab with both hands right around the top of one knee. I'm gonna hold on tight. I'm gonna lower one leg to the ground. And then as I lower that leg to the ground, I'm trying to pull this other leg towards my face. I'm gonna do 5 in a row. Woo! Good work today, guys. That was fun. Man, we're starting this year off right. I can feel it. Ah. 3 more. from here, what you're gonna do is you're gonna lay one leg kind of like on top of your thigh like this. I'm gonna take my hands, I'm gonna reach through, I'm gonna grab my hamstring like this, I'm gonna pull. And then I'm gonna mobilize my ankles, meaning I'm just gonna do some ankle circles. What I wanna feel here is a stretch in my right glute. After a couple, I'm gonna set that down, bring my other leg up on top, reach through, grab my hamstring and pull. Mobilize my ankle. Good stuff today, guys.